full blast, not anywhere close, but they really aren't at that sort of stagnant point that they were 3 months ago. So just extending it exactly as it is for 4 months, that's a tough, I think it's a tough pill to swallow, given I know the need is there, but maybe not to the degree it was 3 months ago. I don't know.
Completely. I totally agree with the premise that you just stated. And I think it's what the Prime Minister is also hearing very solidly from the premiers of many provinces in Canada right now, including my Premier, François Legault in Quebec, because restaurants are all opening next week. It's almost going to be business as usual with a bit of social distancing, I do hope. So yes,
underway.
I'm pretty sure they're saying, hey, listen, your CERB program was much needed. They all cried out for it at the beginning, but now we don't want this to be in competition with the need to get the workers back to work. So I do understand this completely, but we have to also not forget, and that's always my worry in this type of world we're living in, is that within the pandemic, we get all confined. We've all been confined, us included, for the past 70-some days, if not 80. I stopped counting.
Feels like 3 million, but sure, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's for a reason that we're health related and for our security and security of others. So let's not be too judgmental toward workers who would, and I get Mr. Singh's point on that matter. There's people who want to make sure that if they're recalled, let's say you work in a restaurant, that the restaurant have taken the right measures to assure your security. So there's still a bit of work to be done, but I do understand there's a need to now get as close to normality as possible. And how do you get the right balance? It's going to be very important to see before we get or don't get a second wave.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. First of all, there's the psychological impact of being confined for the last 13 weeks.
Oh, what a touch by the
fear
defender.
that we all have about a second wave, and I think there are legitimate worries from a lot of workers about how safe it is to go back to work. I totally understand that. Shakir, talk a bit about, if you could, the Conservatives and how they navigate this issue. They took a lot of criticism a month ago or 2 months ago when they were sort of slamming the CERB to a certain extent by saying it disincentivizes people from going back to work. That didn't go over well with a lot of Canadians. How do they navigate this issue going forward?
It was a goal.
Now, one of the keepers thanking him for that bit of closing down by his defender.
To go to work. It actually motivates you to stay home. But I think in this world, there are a lot of workers, for example, during the pandemic.
Very good tackle.
What is the industries that are hit hardest, right? The service industry, so restaurants, bars, retails.
Getting the ball back and thinking attack straight away.
With other individuals,
that counter-attack didn't work, and they might be counter-attack themselves now.
If you're working in those situations, you don't want to have to bring COVID back home to your family, to your friends, and whatnot. So I think the Conservatives are probably looking at this. Maybe the CERB can be extended, but maybe it's as an insurance policy, right? So maybe if you have COVID or dealing with someone who has COVID-related symptoms, you can actually get some of that money to kind of stay home and take care of those individuals. But it should not be there as a blanket overall kind of like income for individuals who can kind of weigh the risk of going back to work or not going to work. I think ultimately we want to get people back to the workforce. We're trying to restart our economy across the board throughout Canada, and having this program in place just doesn't encourage people to actually go to work, especially when you start thinking about it's very possible the economy doesn't pick up as much, right? If I'm working in a restaurant, maybe I'm not getting as much tips as I once was because the business is not picking up as much, but I think ultimately
the opposition looked as though they believed they'd get through them, but they haven't, and now they can get on the ball and play.
On the wage subsidy, you get people back into the workforce, and then you have things picking up again for the economy.
I guess some would worry about the lack of a safety net for people who in some parts of this province, for example, in Ontario, can't go back to work or who don't feel safe going back to work. But I think you're
press it.
Absolutely. I just think it just needs to be more targeted. It shouldn't just be this blanket approach for all.
The politics of this, Amanda, are going to be interesting. We've got sort of a condensed amount of time in Parliament. Things are supposed to wrap up next week. Right now, based on my, the interview with Mr. Singh, talking to Minister Duclos, like nobody seems on the exact same page. And what's interesting at this time, which we rarely talk about as much anymore, but it's a minority government, so they do need to be able to get support from some MPs, some configuration of MPs, or one party, or a multitude of them. We'll see how that goes. But politically, it should. I mean, there will be some interesting negotiations taking place over the coming days.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think part of the reason why this was given to opposition parties on the weekend for a pre-study and those negotiations are ongoing is because even when you hear us on the panel, you hear shades of the same story, shades of the same request. And I think part of it is nuance. Like, how can we nuance a little bit so that it doesn't come off as law and order? And how can we make sure that we're incentivizing people back to the workforce and penalizing only those who have truly defrauded the system? And I think if the Liberals are able to make those negotiations with each of the parties, they'll be able to get there, because the common good of this is moving more people to the wage subsidy, getting people back to work, stimulating the economy, and frankly, that's what all parties want to have happen.
The big problem with the wage subsidy, Francoise, and Amanda alluded to this, is it's not, the uptake has not been anywhere near what the government anticipated it would be. The last time I checked, and I think the data was from early last week, but they had originally anticipated almost 1 million people or 1 million businesses would apply and be approved. A third of that has actually happened. They initially budgeted over $70 billion for it, and it ended up being $9 billion right now. They adjusted the estimates, but still it's not even close to what I think they reduced it to something like $40 or $45 billion, and we're nowhere near that. We're about $10 billion in. So that's a big challenge for the government, and you can hear it reflected in the Prime Minister's remarks every day. He's almost like pleading, businesses, here's a number you can call, please take us up on the wage subsidy, right? But I mean, the rubber will hit the road eventually if those businesses do not end up taking advantage. They're going to, the government will have to take a pretty hard look at that.
But there's still a chance here for when you deal with businesses, you know that they are busy surviving right now. So sometimes, and a lot of people have businesses and they know all the red tape and so on and so forth. So I'm surprised and not that surprised that the numbers are a bit off from what the government had expected. There's a lot of people who just didn't have time to do that. As surprising as it looks, I've known of business that they passed the last 80-some days having phone calls, video conference with different people trying to see how they will get over this, how they if they can continue functioning in different ways. So they're not necessarily on the same wavelength as the government, who's supposed to have time to think, who's got the most specialist of specialists to try to be in tune. And maybe that's what we will realize at the end of the day, that you cannot govern by just answering to a cry you hear somewhere. You have to have a bit of vision. You have to look forward. You have to understand the world you're living in, and not just react, but really take the taureau par les cornes and go ahead of the curve to make sure that you have the right program to help the right people, or that you give your message and the people get the message that you want them to get. It's not everybody, every business that